downloaded.
All right, back on air. Okay, for the second half of the show, let's continue on. Tony Tarantino in the house. Made up with him. You heard it on the air live. We are buddies. And let's see, where are we at here? All right. You know, Tony, now you might as well give him the mic because this is all about Tony. All right, now if you can pull that mic parallel to your boca. There we go, Tony. Okay, on the internet, I was looking at these pictures, and I saw the image of Tony Tarantino, a young Tony Tarantino, the black and white ones. So you know what I'm referring to. Yeah. And I said, God, look at this guy. He still looks like he's from New York, which is a compliment. Straight out of Queens. You ever want to go back to Queens?
You know, I like going back and visit. I still have 90% of my family is still there. And it's a good visit.
Yeah.
But I could no longer handle the weather. I couldn't handle the humid summers, and I couldn't handle the winters anymore.
Oh,
I just got too used to the California weather.
Yeah. You know, and it's funny because the last few people that we've had in here that we've done interviews with, they're from back east. I ask them, do you want to go back? Do you want to go back east? No. And usually the people that I meet, and I meet a lot of people from the Midwest and from back east, back in Long Beach where I stay, that do you want to go back to Chicago? You want to go back to Detroit? Yeah, I miss all that. But you guys out here in Hollywood that are transplanted New Yorkers, you want to stay out here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Now, I from my sister's report, that Little Italy is no longer but one block in Manhattan, and that it's moved out to Queens? Is it Queens where Little Italy is at now?
You know, tell you the truth, now I'm not so sure anymore. But when I was a kid in New York, it was mostly around Flatbush.
Flatbush.
Yeah, it's Ozone Park, Flatbush.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know that.
It was all Italian. You couldn't buy something in the store unless you can speak Italian.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, but times have changed. When I grew up, everybody had their own sections. You had the Jewish section, you had the Puerto Rican section, you had the Italian, you had the black. And back in those years, it was one of those things where you did not dare cross
the boundary. You didn't cross the borders.
Not unless you were looking for what they used to say, a real rumble.
Okay. Now those pictures, if you go on Facebook, Pocho Loco, you'll see those pictures of Tony Tarantino. I'm going to tell you something. Even today, by today's standards, I mean, the guy was good looking back then. He still is. But even back then, some of you ladies, you might have tried to make a play for him. But Tony, now tell me, it seems to me, were those the years when you were doing the music? When you were doing your musician years?
I was a musician. My whole life, I've either made my living in front of a camera, behind a camera, or on a bandstand. When one thing was slow, I just simply moved to the other.
See, that's why you have to be a person of many trades. Yeah. And it said in your bio that you made money playing at coffee houses and wherever.
Yeah, way back in the early years here in California, I was a student at the Pasadena Playhouse, College of Theater Arts.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, there were a couple of others at the same time. Gene Hackman.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was one of my questions. Who was there?
Yeah.
James Caan or because there were quite a few all over.
Yeah.
Al Pacino.
Was Al? No. How about Dustin Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman. That's it. Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman met there and became lifelong friends from there.
Yeah, and I love that period of time that Tony went through the acting experience, because some of our finest actors back then, and that made it big in the 60s, even bigger than our biggest stars today.
Even Leonard Nimoy.
They're Dr. Spock. Look at this guy. He's running around. His roommate is Gene Hackman, and and Leonard Nimoy, and that was a great period. So you already answered another question that I was going to ask. Now Pasadena, I mean, that's kind of a ways from Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah.
did
Well,
Go ahead.
that was neat. I used to work. That's when I received my first working jobs as a guitar player singer. I used to play at a place called the Ice House in Pasadena.
that's now a comedy place?
Well, back then it was a
Yeah.
very folk. Everything then
Sure.
was folk music. Joan Baez, Lead Belly, all of that was the
Jesus.
big thing.
Did you know Joan Baez was Mexican?
Yeah,
Back then?
well, Baez, get serious.
Oh,
What else?
See? Oh, what a period! And so you used to just go and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably, I bet you guys back then made more money than some of our musicians that go around today.
Well, I don't know. Back in the day, I was playing for $15 a night as a sideman.
That's for about 14 more than what some musicians make today. Oh my God! I mean, in folk songs, you know, something of the '60s, and that's why I say your experience in entertainment, because I was factoring in the years spent as a musician, and it says that you also had bands
Yes.
that you played with.
Yes.
What type of music did you play?
That was rock and roll.
There we go. Oh, rock
See,
and roll.
I moved from folk music into rock and roll, and from rock and roll into ballads and standards, kind of like the Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Dean Martin, and then from there into blues and jazz, and then from there into country.
Oh man.
And since then, I've written something like 22 some odd country songs. A couple made the top 10.
Country, did you wear a cowboy hat when you
Oh,
did
I
that?
have the whole cowboy thing. But then again, too, I was a real cowboy.
That's another thing. You have a ranch, Tony. You got a ranch?
Not now, I don't.
but you had one.
Yeah,
You
I've
had
had
one.
as many as 40 head of horses at one
Oh
time.
my!
I worked as a cowboy on the largest ranch in the state of California. It was the Mapes Ranch up in Litchfield, California.
Yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah, they had 5,000 head of cows spread out over 250,000 acres of land. And that roundup was a real roundup, real cowboy time. People don't even realize it, but when they take you out for the roundup, everything is trucked. Each cowboy is given 7 horses. You ride a different horse every day.
Man, well,
And
that's a sign of a big ranch.
Right, and then you break off into twos, and you go out and you round up what you can, and you drive them to a central location. Then you drive the entire herd right down the main highways all the way back to the ranch. I'll never forget that. Julian Mapes on the Mapes Ranch. That was, in fact, his dad started it. I believe that property was a Spanish land grant. I'm not
Probably.
sure, but he also started the Mapes Hotel, which I do believe today is a landmark. And when we had a weekend off or something, we could go to that hotel for free.
And did you have a medic out there in the field for your saddle sores? Because that, you know, I've ridden horses, and man, that stings after a while. And you know, I would have thought that you got into that because of your father, because your father was doing Western pictures, was he not?
That is correct. In the early 30s, he worked with people like Tom Mix, Buck Jones, Fred Thompson. You know, people. In fact, just the other day, last night, I was at the Hollywood Museum. There was a big thing there they put on for the Emmys. And walking down one of those streets, I remember it was, and I noticed one of the stars was Fred Thompson. And I'm saying, whoa, would you look at that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how many people walking by here would even recognize those names.
Well, you'd be surprised. You know, we've had young actors and actresses in here, and they, you know, ask them, "Do you know this, you know, Hollywood personality?" And they, "Yeah, sure, he is my favorite actor, my favorite actress." So wow, so the people in the industry, you'd be surprised. There are people that would probably remember that, and there's still a lot of people from your generation that are out around Hollywood. I'm sure Richard knows quite a few. Some of the Stella Stevens. Did she pass on? Or
No, Stella's fine.
Stella Stevens.
We had a meeting with Stella one time at her
Yeah.
house. Tony
Oh, that's right, yeah.
with, the director.
Yeah, I
Gus
forgot about
from
that.
South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see that I told you about this man. There's so much about him. What actors did you admire when you were getting into acting? Who were the ones that you looked to?
Marlon Brando?
Yeah, Marlon Brando was great. Al Pacino has always been a big thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Hoffman, some of the work that he's done has been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of my real interest and admiration goes more toward the films of the 40s.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. The
Yeah,
people that you liked growing up.
Yeah, that whole era, that their filmmaking was different than today.
Oh, sure.
The film was truly story driven. The characters were part of that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't have all the FX and everything that you have now.
Right.
And I kind of like that. I when I'm doing a film now, especially on my big film coming up, I try very much to keep it in that realm.
And you see there, my friends, that I've been preaching on the air and on Facebook time and time again, the Hispanic filmmakers that are trying to get somewhere in Hollywood and make an impact, is you've got to go back to the story.
Right.
I saw Woody Allen's film this last week, and he's still the master of that story-driven, the character, the build-up without the special effects, and that's why his films constantly make money. Now, this project, I'm glad you mentioned that project, because I was going to bring that up to see what is it, Tony Tarantino, that you are working on now.
You ought to see the trailer.
Well, let Richard.
The trailer has been posted on
Okay.
Facebook, and it is around the internet, and it can be found on my webpage, TarantinoProductions.com.
Okay.
And right there, when you open that webpage, there's a picture of my dad on Tom Mix's horse.
I got to check that out. Yeah, I'm going to put that in my photo album if you don't mind. But
Yeah.
what is this project called?
It's titled PRISM, PRISM. I bought the rights to the
Yeah.
best-selling novel Color of the Prism by Thomas J. Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on a true story. It's about an undercover detective out of Tucson, Arizona, that infiltrates the largest drug cartel in Mexico, run by El Chapo Guzman.
Uh-oh.
So the characters were real people. The events really did happen, with some creative liberties I might have taken to make it a little more exciting.
Everybody does that, yeah. But, I mean, that sounds interesting. Now this is the one that you shared with me, or is this something different, Richard, that he's working on?
No, this is a
This is the
project
one,
that
yeah.
I mentioned. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So how far along are we here? You say you have the trailer? Has it been shot?
No, we're in, I would have to say, pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
I've got most of my crew together. Quentin's new film hits the theaters December 25th, and it's titled Hateful Eight. It's a Western.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer on that.
All right, so my marketing people don't want my film to reach the market
I see.
until after
Quentin's.
has
Okay.
gone its term.
Well, so there are two films that I'm looking forward to: PRISM, and of course to Quentin's film that's coming out. So the trailer is up, and you want to mention the website again?
TarantinoProductions.com.
Oh.
Oh yeah, .com. That's correct.
Yeah, that's right. And thing is, again, to his resume, we add not only actor, but going back a ways earlier in the broadcast, I was factoring in your time as a musician. So that one, wouldn't that put you like 30 plus years in entertainment if you count that as well?
Well, if you go back to my first film being 1958.
Well, 60, yeah, well,
That's
that's
over 50
40,
years.
that's 50 years. Well, see, I didn't want to go there.
Yeah. Well, you see, here's how it works.
He's a boxer, he's a black belt. Why do I
Yeah.
want to say, oh, haven't you been around for 70 years?
Well,
I'm gonna
no,
do
see,
that.
especially when it comes to all these beautiful young women, there's two things they always say. Are you related to Quentin? And I always say, yeah. And they'll say, what's the relationship? And I say, he's my older brother. And then when somebody says, well, how old are you? I say 21 with 54 years experience.
That's okay, that's well, unless they're mathematicians. But that's the other thing you factor in. He's also a director. Now, this film, PRISM, are you directing this one?
I wrote it and I'm directing it.
There you go, writer-director. And you were co-director on a film I saw. I don't recall which one it was before, weren't you?
Yes.
Which one was that, the Mediterranean one?
Oh, Mediterranean Blue. We just did that not long ago. Shot that on the island of Mallorca in Spain.
Yeah.
And we were there 3 months. That's a really nice film. I really liked that film.
I was attracted to that right away when I saw that. I said, I'm going to download this thing because it's something, I'm a freak when it comes to foreign films and films that are shot overseas. That's why I'm a big Bond fan. I said, I'll bet you anything. This son of a gun, it looks like Italy, might be Spain. And that's why I always wanted to be an actor, like Tony here. You travel to these places, Hollywood, Italian, and I keep telling Tony, my listeners, I say that, when you leave the United States, women, they somehow look different. You can tell when you see, when I go down south, I said, you know what, you can tell these people are not Americans. These ladies, they look a little bit different. Tony knows what I'm talking about. He's shaking his head. Yeah, right. Yeah. And so, those films that you've done, what was your favorite? My
favorite film is always the one I'm working on at the time.
Good answer. That's a good answer. But which one did you enjoy? Really, was that Mediterranean Blues?
I can't think of a film I did not enjoy working on. All right, to me, film is an art imitating life, not the other way around. And if you can't have a good time and enjoy doing what you're doing, then go find something else to do. I did several interviews on Entertainment Tonight, Inside Edition, and what have you. And one of those interviewers, I think it was Entertainment Tonight, toward the end of the interview, she says to me, she says, Tony, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would we find you doing? And I said, probably pushing a shopping cart down Hollywood Boulevard.
With a cameraman behind you?
Yeah, really.
No,
really.
But,
I tell people, I almost feel guilty at times. And they say, why? I say, I get paid very well for doing what I love and having a good time, and I don't work.
Tony, that's why I find sometimes in these mag shows on TV, and that's why I don't watch them, E.T., and some of the others, the ex-lawyer that has the other show, I can't think of it right now, but anyway, that some of these stories about some of the actors acting up on the set are a bit exaggerated, I think, sometimes, because the attitude that Tony just expressed right now, one of humility, of feeling very fortunate to be on a production, and if you can't enjoy it, and all that, I would think that, and see, this is the feeling I get, because I met Joaquin Phoenix, and they're all like that. Like Tony, they're very humble, and I tell people, you guys knock Hollywood about, but I'm telling you, these are some of the most gentle people you'll ever come across. Very giving. We say in Spanish, con mucho cariño. And I've never been disappointed, and that's great. I'm not glad you shared that, because this is what this show is all about. Tony, is to introduce actors and other people to people who may not be familiar with some of these people that we introduce, and I want the younger actors to learn.
You see, when it comes to the younger actors, the first thing I look for when I'm casting a character, the first thing I look for is, does the actor fit my mental image of the character on a physical basis?
Right. That's
number one. Secondly is attitude and personality. Then they show me that, then I say, okay, now let's see if they got the talent.
I'm going to write that down, because I'm doing something right now on my own. God, this guy is see, you learn from the older, or those with madurez, who've been around. You learn from these people. Ask them questions. They're very open. I wish my grandparents were around. But especially in the industry, you ask questions, they've got the answers. They've been through it. Any wild story you want to share right now in these closing minutes? An anecdote you might want to share? You say you're in Tahoe.
Yeah.
How do you like it up there?
I love it.
Cold.
Yeah, well, see, I spend so much of my time down here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but to go up there, it is so secure, so quiet. You've got the open far. You got a 6,200 foot elevation. You got that big, beautiful lake right there. And if you want nightlife or entertainment, it's right there in Tahoe. You got all the casinos, all the clubs. I used to perform at Caesars.
You was a musician or?
Yeah,
Wow.
playing my guitar, singing my songs. I would get up there and I would imitate Elvis, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, not dressing, not acting like them, but singing their songs, mimicking their voices.
This guy, you put him in an Elvis suit, he could pass for almost another Elvis. I think you have light eyes. You have blue eyes.
Yeah, I have blue eyes.
Blue eyes. Yeah. See, I'm trying to paint a picture for the ladies who are listening in on this.
Oh, okay.
He still got it, ladies. He still got it. His hair is slick. He's got his eyes, especially those light eyes. Women, let me tell you, Tony, women love these Italian men with light eyes. I don't know why. It's because it's the same thing in the Mexican culture. Oh, tiene ojos claros. Oh, you have light eyes, and they get all weak. Well,
then he was Frank Sinatra, and they called him Old Blue Eyes.
That's right. And like I said, I knew some Italians. On my sister's in-law side, they're all light.
My father's side was like that. He had dark blonde hair. He hated to be called blonde. He said his hair was sandy. And he had big blue eyes and very light skin. My mother was from Palermo area, and she had blue-black hair, dark skin, and big brown eyes.
You have a picture online. Is that a picture of your mom? Was it?
I'd have to know what picture you're talking about.
Well, I'll email it to you. I think. Oh, I don't know. I look at so much. But anyway, do you go into Reno from Tahoe? Is that very far?
No, Reno is 50 miles down the road, down the mountain.
Oh, but you don't want to go down the mountain, right? You want to stay.
Well, it's Highway 50, actually coming out of Carson City, on up Highway 58 on up to Reno, up to Tahoe.
I saw Tony pull into the studio a lot, and I took one look at him. I said, "You know what? Really, Tony? I thought this." I said, "You know what? Elvis is in the building. Elvis is in the building tonight." But the picture is called PRISM. Do you have a lead character for this?
Well, I'll put it this way. I want Colin Farrell in the lead. I want Joaquin Phoenix playing Guzman.
Oh, you might get him. You might get him. I think people are saying stuff about him, but the guy can still. Like I said, he was in that Woody Allen film, and the guy's he's such a dynamic actor, and a lot of people don't know that he's Puerto Rican.
I thought he was Mexican.
No, he's Puerto Rican. He was born. He's got Puerto Rican. Well, he's American regardless, because that's the territory, right? So, yeah. So look for that, Tony Tarantino. I want to thank you for coming in. We're about ready to wrap up. So, any last thing you want to promote? Push.
Yeah, just live, love, and have a good time.
And have a good time. That's